I still remember the sound of my engagement ring hitting the hardwood floor. It slipped off my trembling hand the exact moment. I opened my bedroom door and saw my fiancé wrapped around my older brother, like I had never existed. But that wasn't the moment that destroyed me. The moment that truly shattered me came less than 5 minutes later, when my own mother walked into that room, hugged the woman who had betrayed me, kissed her forehead, and whispered, "Don't cry. Sweetheart, we'll figure this out together." She never looked at me. Not once. My father stood beside my brother, placed a hand on his shoulder, and calmly said, "Maybe this happened because you two were never right for each other." I couldn't even breathe. I was the daughter who had spent years paying their bills after Dad lost his job. I was the one who postponed my own wedding twice, so Mom could recover from surgery without worrying about expenses. I bought groceries, covered the mortgage when they fell behind, and never complained because I believed family meant showing up when it mattered. Yet the day my entire world collapsed, they chose the people who destroyed it. My fiancé couldn't even meet my eyes. My brother looked guilty for maybe 3 seconds before wrapping his arm around her again, as if I had already disappeared. My mother actually turned toward me and said words I'll never forget. "You should leave for tonight. Everyone needs time to calm down." Leave? I stared at the 4 people I loved most in the world, and not one of them asked if I was okay. Not one. They acted like I was the problem standing in the way of their happiness. I picked up my overnight bag with shaking hands while my tears blurred everything around me. As I reached the front door, I heard my father laugh softly at something my brother said. They were already moving on. I sat in my car for almost an hour, unable to start the engine because I kept asking myself one question. How could my own parents choose them over me after everything I had sacrificed? I had no idea that what I believed was simple. Betrayal was actually hiding a family secret that would change every single thing I thought I knew about my life. I spent the next 3 nights sleeping inside my car because every hotel in town reminded me that I had already paid thousands of dollars for a honeymoon that would never happen. I couldn't stop replaying my mother's words in my head. "He has a future now." At first I thought she was simply choosing her favorite child, but something about that sentence refused to leave me alone. Why would she say his future instead of your relationship? On the 4th morning, I returned to the house while everyone was at work because I still had clothes, family photo albums, and the documents I'd kept in my old bedroom. As I packed my things, I accidentally overheard voices coming from my parents' bedroom. My mother had forgotten her phone on speaker, and I froze when I heard her telling my aunt, "If she ever finds out about the inheritance, everything will fall apart. We have to keep her away until the lawyer finishes transferring everything to Daniel." My hands started shaking, so badly that I dropped a picture frame. Inheritance? My grandmother had passed away only 6 weeks earlier, and she'd always told everyone that she loved her grandchildren equally. Suddenly, every piece of the puzzle started fitting together. My parents weren't just protecting my brother, they were protecting money. I quietly searched the filing cabinet where Dad kept important papers and hidden beneath old tax records. I found copies of legal documents with my grandmother's signature. Something looked wrong immediately. The signature on the final page didn't match the birthday cards she'd written me every single year. It looked forced, almost copied. Before I could read more, I heard the front door open. My brother walked in laughing with my fiancé, and when they saw me, neither of them looked embarrassed anymore. My fiancé actually smiled and held up her engagement ring, the ring I had chosen with my own savings, and said, "You should have accepted this sooner. Daniel and I make more sense together." Then my brother leaned against the doorway and quietly added, "Mom and Dad finally have the family they always wanted." Those words hit harder than the cheating itself. They had already replaced me. I picked up my suitcase and walked toward the door, but before leaving, I slipped those suspicious documents into my bag without anyone noticing. They laughed as I drove away because they believed I was defeated. What none of them knew was that I had just taken the first piece of evidence that would eventually destroy every lie they had spent years building, and I was finally done crying. For the next 6 months, I disappeared from everyone's lives without a single phone call or message, and they mistook my silence for weakness. They celebrated birthdays together, posted smiling family photos online, announced my brother's engagement to the woman who was supposed to become my wife, and even told relatives that I had become unstable after the breakup. Every lie they spread only made me more determined. I hired a handwriting expert, met with my grandmother's longtime attorney, and handed over every document I'd quietly taken from my parents' house. 2 weeks later, the expert confirmed exactly what my instincts had been. Screaming, the signature on the final inheritance papers had been forged. My grandmother had never intended to leave everything to my brother. In fact, her real will divided everything equally between us, but someone had replaced the last pages after she died. The investigation moved faster than I expected. Bank records revealed large transfers into my parents' accounts. Security footage showed my father entering the attorney's office after business hours with documents that should never have left the building. Then came the phone call I'd dreamed about for months. "Miss Carter," the investigator said, "we've finished collecting the evidence. It's time." I didn't cry. I simply drove to the courthouse wearing the same cream-colored sweater I'd worn the day my life fell apart. My brother, my ex-fiancé, my mother, and my father all turned pale the moment they saw me walk into the courtroom. My mother tried smiling as if nothing had happened, but the judge didn't even let her speak before the forged documents. Expert reports, surveillance records, and financial evidence were placed on the table one after another. The silence inside that courtroom was louder than any scream I'd ever heard. My father's face lost all color. My brother kept whispering that he didn't know anything about the forgery. My ex-fiancé quietly removed the engagement ring and placed it inside her purse without saying a word. None of it mattered anymore. The judge invalidated the fake will, reopened my grandmother's estate, ordered a criminal investigation into the forged documents, and froze every asset connected to the fraud. My parents walked out of that courthouse facing criminal charges. My brother lost the inheritance he thought was already his. My ex-fiancé left him less than a month later when the money disappeared. As for me, I finally understood something I'd been too broken to see before. They never chose love over me. They chose greed. And the family that abandoned me to protect a lie ended up losing everything because of that same lie. Walking out of the courthouse into the sunlight, I smiled for the first time in months, not because I had taken revenge, but because I had finally stopped begging people to love me who never deserved a place in my life.